Hello, everybody. I am Panera, and I'm here with Boisterous. We
Hello.
are going to
I'm
be
just gonna.
doing. You're gonna what?
I was gonna introduce myself, but then you went on after an awkward pause.
Yeah, I did that on purpose. I wanted to throw you a little bit.
Oh,
I
well.
do. If people don't know, I'm actually like the most useful troll on the planet.
God damn it.
So yeah, like I do little things to mess with people. It's all good. So we're doing another one of these documentary casts featuring Zedman, because I'm Canadian. Zed, not Z, and Doncroft. Dancraft.
Uh,
Mancraft.
uh,
Moncroft.
Don Crotch. I think Don Crotch is my favorite. I'd
Doncroft
rather
is.
Dan Crotch.
Yeah. It's really hard. It's really hard to tell. He's got the man with a million names.
And
He'd be like a Bond villain from the '60s.
it definitely. And just because if anyone's wondering that you could only see Z-Man right now, it's because this is a documentary style cast. So we're actually focusing very much on the Zerg player and what the Zerg player does for this entire game. I'd have it on his player camera, but his player camera currently hasn't moved from his hatchery, so now I'm just kind of free floating around and staring at random stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And we're right now in the hive development stage where they're just getting things started, right? So there's as per the meta game, you can either go hyper aggressive and make a really quick pool, which he didn't do, or you can make a whole ton of drones, which is pretty much the thing to do these days.
Yeah, we see him going for what has just become the standard against most of the Protoss. What would you call the Protoss structure of command? Hierarchy?
I think it's like the hierarchy.
Yeah, okay. You see what most Zerg hives have started to do against the Protoss hierarchy, which is go for kind of those early pools during their stages of development against in a planet, and instead of going for a fast hatchery, because you see a lot of Protoss players doing exactly what Dancroft is doing right now, which is just blocking off the natural expansion.
Such a dick thing to do.
It's such a dick thing to do. You gotta let the Zerg expand. You can't put animals in cages.
Yeah, you can't put animals in cages.
Yeah, Zerg are animals.
Well, I guess so. Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not saying like a pylon block or something. Jesus, are you drunk or something, man?
No, don't worry, don't worry. I'm full of ideas.
Full of ideas. Okay.
With ideas.
All right. Yeah. So we're just kind of waiting for some of the. This is so standard. We're all familiar with this, and I'll get into some other stuff in a little bit once things have ramped up. But while we're waiting, how's your day been?
It's been pretty good. I managed to split my nose open today because I was walking through a parking lot and I tripped on a rock, and then I like bashed my head against the back of somebody's car. So I have like this probably like millimeter or two deep gash in my nose, and it's just like a straight line, and it looks creepy as hell.
So, are you born this terrible, or do you work at it?
No. It's a perfected technique.
Okay, so it's like a work in progress.
It's not really a work in progress. It's a lot of reading. I research a lot to get this terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
So see what other people did to succeed in being terrible.
Exactly. I read the Darwin Awards a lot, primarily.
Okay.
Specifically the honorary mentions, because I really don't want to die of terribleness too early.
Oh, fair enough.
I'd prefer to live on a little bit.
Have longevity in the terribleness, so longevity via average rather than burst damage.
Yeah, it's really the amount of bones I can break in a year without dying. That's what I'm aiming for. I'm trying to get my high right now is 12. I'm aiming for somewhere in the 56 range by the end of my life.
I recommend the ribs, or the another good one would be to like take a hammer and hit your wrist. All those little carpals.
I will take that into consideration, Panera. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. So I wanted to point out something about the Queen. This was brought up actually when we did our last episode streamed live on In Control TV on Twitch.tv. Yes, In Control is a regular now, which is super awesome. He's a totally cool dude. But we were talking about the Queen last time, and one thing I observed was if you're a queen, you've got a really weird dichotomy going on. So in order to do your job, you basically have to be constantly spending your energy. But a queen, we can all agree, a queen with 0 energy is worth significantly less than a queen with 200 energy. So in doing your job, you're actually devaluing yourself. And you're making yourself more likely to be like, if you're going to have a massive, say like a whole bunch of Protoss came into the base, they would much rather lose the queen without energy than the queen with energy. So it's an interesting sort of biological trade-off that the queen has to go through in order to, she wants to be pooling as much energy as she can so that she becomes more valuable. But at the same time, if she doesn't do anything, she's completely useless. So it's a really weird trade-off, biologically speaking.
I think it's more like the broodmother who happens to be controlling the queen is kind of just a bitch and wants that queen to be able to die at any point.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's
well,
what the.
of course.
I mean, it's kind of weird. You think of the queens that are injecting as being extremely valuable,
Yeah.
but of course, queens that are injecting hypothetically have, anywhere from what 25 to 0 energy at any
theory,
or 50 or whatever. Yeah. So hypothetically, if they're doing their job properly, then they're effectively hovering at useless. Yet they're the most useful role that a queen could have.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like Z-Man, or, well, the Zerg Hive, sorry, I broke the fourth wall a little bit there. The Zerg Hive is currently scouting out over the Protoss hierarchy's base on this planet. And he's not seeing anything at all. And there he does finally see a robotics facility, which will definitely change their path of evolution. And we even see the Hydralisk Den going down right now.
And that's effectively all you can do against this. It looks like a Sentry Immortal all in.
Yeah, those are painful things.
So, and if I'm the Zerg, I'm probably pooping myself, which is actually creep. We've decided. So, you're pooping creep yourself. Like, yeah.
The
Can you imagine?
Excrete creep?
Yeah,
I think hasn't somebody on AOS, or maybe you specifically, said in the past that Zerg want nutrients and sometimes they go to creep because that's all they have on the battlefield?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's their poop, but they also eat it.
And the entire Zerg army is like 2 girls, 1 cup?
Precisely. And imagine you're a queen taking care of a brand new baby larva with a diaper on there. Imagine changing that diaper.
Oh, God. Oh. Well, I doubt they would want to use diapers because when larvae poop, that's just more creep for everybody else to eat.
It's true.
If you use diapers, then some of it just gets trapped.
This whole southern area of the map would smell absolutely terrible.
God.
I'm just going to say that right now. And so we're seeing a lot of investment into these Hydralisks and Aspire. So it looks like the Zerg is going a little bit less turtley. You can when you see the Zerg get into this layer, this is when you start seeing a little bit more of a little bit, I guess, less expansion, a little bit more sort of digging in and trying to keep the other player or other competitor on the planet in their base and just try to buy time to get to that hyper aggressive hive, which is where they can make the broodlords and then just press A and good game.
Yeah, I think you can definitely say that this Zerg hive is not going for any sort of an aggressive build because they just went for 22 drones, which is a lot of drones in one sitting.
Yeah, they've really oversaturated. I expect this.
Yeah,
they've really invested heavily into this, so I expect that there will be another hatchery thrown down because they do need to have at least probably 4 places to 4 gathering areas rather to support something like a hive. One thing I've noticed is for whatever reason the creep is not being spread, and there's only 3 queens as opposed to like 7.
I think that's really kind of the differing strategies between fighting off a Protoss hierarchy and fighting off a Terran Dominion force. Because the Terran Dominion force have a lot of those very fast-hitting units that deal amazing amounts of damage to your Zerglings, like the Hellions and the Hellbats in Heart of the Swarm, and you really need queens to fight those guys off or everything just gets roasted. We do see 16 Mulisks in production, but I'll talk about those in a second because I'm really focused on queens right now.
Yeah.
Whereas with the Protoss, you kind of have these slow-moving armies like the Immortal and the Stalker armies that rip through queens. They will, like, there's no point to having queens in your army. It's much more valuable to have these Mutalisks or to have those Zerglings or Roaches against that kind of force because they're easier to micro, they move faster, they're easier to strike with, and they can take out Immortals, actually, instead of dealing like 4 damage.
And the mutas are moving across the map. This guy's off. This Zerg hive has opted for a much more mobile ability, so the ability to control the outlying areas from their hive. But unfortunately for this Zerg, that's a pretty scary force.
Well, it's a scary force, but again, this kind of goes back to the Mutalisk versus Roach pick and stuff. Because Mutalisks will fight off that force easily. There's like 7 Stalkers in there, and 7 Stalkers versus 16 Mutalisks is kind of a joke. So we're going to see we're going to see the Zerg Hive, excuse me, actually take a commanding lead in the next engagement, I predict, because there is not a whole ton of Stalker production. There's only 5 gates down for Dawncroft right now, unless there's some at the third base that the Zerg Hive has yet to see, and I don't think
there is a third base.
Yeah, no, there is a third base.
He has seen it.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if there's gateways there though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's building up quite a bit of anti-air in this proxy pylon too. So, I really would have preferred to see the creep be pushed out to at least the 1/3, so at least to the first tower, because then Zergling flanks are just ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. And it looks like we do have 16 Hydralisks on the way for this army, which is an interesting choice to say the least.
I really don't think that's a good choice, given that there are 3 Colossus.
Yeah, but the thing is that in Heart of the Swarm, Hydralisks are really fast, and we have these Mutalisks that if they don't get too much, if they don't take too much fire from the Stalkers, they'll be able to snipe off the Colossus in 1 hit apiece, and do just a ton of damage to the army. So I think that's kind of what he's going for. You're going to see kind of a snipe on the Colossus go down for the Zerg Hive. However, it looks like he's just going to be pushing back across the map, and Hydralisks are a lot faster now.
This is exactly what you'd expect to see from a Zerg that's going sort of this much more mobile hit squad. They move across the map with a large amount of units and start, even though he's not in the base or next to the base, this big blob of Zerg is certainly putting pressure on the Protoss, and it's at this time that they typically will take a 4th and usually like a 5th and 6th. I actually would have preferred the 4th to be a bit earlier, but hey, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the 4th should have been way earlier, but it's all good. He went for a much higher concentration of army supply versus drone supply, which is kind of a surprise considering how many drones he actually started to build in that mid part of the game. He's at 82, which is still relatively high, but I mean, as soon as he got those 80 drones, he just instantly swapped onto this kind of Mutalisk Roach Hydra army.
Let's talk a little bit about this new Mutalisking tissue regeneration. Now, all living things have tissue regeneration. There's simply no way to fix the. We have a huge battle going on. I should have listened.
That was a pretty bad engagement for Z-Man, actually.
Yeah, that's probably GG right there.
The main thing about his army was that his army was there as a buffer, so the Mutalisks could snipe off the Colossus. In that engagement, we saw Dawncroft put down some beautiful force fields, as Protoss hierarchies typically do, and then the entire Zerg army was nullified for the entirety of the engagement, which is something that you see a lot with high-level force fields, is that essentially it splits a Zerg force into 2 waves, and a Protoss force can easily fight off 2 waves of Zerg.
We've got some valuable queens.
Oh god,
valuable
the queens charging the lines. It did not go well. This is a lot of Hydralisks. We do see the snipe going down in the Colossus, and that was pretty beautiful. And we are going to see the very, very high DPS of these Hydralisks starting to snipe off the very kind of almost lightly armored Stalkers. And yeah, that's a pretty big pushback.
Yeah, it is actually, and this is the kind of thing where you could do 2 things. You can continue as a Zerg, you can continue staying on layer tech and keep pushing out Hydras and Roaches in this case, or like we're seeing, you can go for the Corruptors, and we all know what that means.
Broodlords.
As soon as the Hive is he's a little bit low on gas right now, but I do expect the Hive to be any time now. But anyway, back to the whole concept of this naming this upgrade. Tissue regeneration. All living things regenerate tissue. So they should really name it something like, I don't know, metabolic repurposing or something, where the Mutalisk outside of combat is able to, instead of putting that energy towards attacking and things like that, it's putting the energy towards repairing and things like that.
That is a way better name.
It totally is. I mean, it's just...
It's like you studied some level of biology.
Yeah, well, no, I'm just an enthusiastic man with a 6th grade education.
Nice.
Yeah,
dude, that 6th grade education will get you through life.
Actually, true story. My grandfather only has his grade 6.
Nice.
Yep.
Sounds like a wise man.
He's a total boss. I believe he saw the movie Brave and said that it was like 48 thumbs down, completely unrealistic, and a piece of shit. And just like, yeah, it's just like, dude, it's a Disney movie. He's like furious at this bear.
I want to meet your grandfather now.
Oh, he's got the greatest sayings. Like somebody who's like a really big tight ass. He's like, oh yeah, he's tighter than the skin on a wiener. Just like, what the hell?
What? All right. Well, we have a pretty big engagement going down for the Zerg Hive right now. We see a lot of those Hydralisks being absolutely flambéed by the Colossus kind of laser eye fire. But anyway, the Corruptors managed to take out those Colossus with their pods of fungal stuff.
Parasitic spores.
Is that the actual name of the attack?
Even though even though it actually isn't a spore, nor is it parasitic.
Are you sure it's not parasitic?
Yeah, I am 100%. Yeah, it's pretty terrible.
It would be reasonably hard to kill something off that's a giant technological terror with parasites.
What's really cool about the Corruptor is that it's tri-radiate. So instead of being like bilateral, like let's say the Roach, for example, these guys actually have a third axis, so you can divide them up sort of in a triangular way. And that's one thing I really like about the modeling of the Corruptor. You can see him just like floating around and stuff like that.
I am so confused by that sentence, but I'm just gonna say yup and nod my head.
Excellent. That's what most people do when they talk to me. Like I go to a bar and all the women, I say like. DNA helicase.
Hey, do you want to know something interesting about the Corruptor? It's trilateral.
It's even better. I'll say, I really like my women like the Big Bang. Like I like my Big Bang Theory. Exceptionally dense and really really hot, and they. Yeah.
I can't imagine how that doesn't go over well.
And you know what? It beats the alternative, right? Expanding rapidly and cooling off.
Probably. However, that's how you like your women. You like them dense and hot at the start, and then they expand rapidly and cool off as you near the end.
Well, that's how it goes, right? When they let themselves go and stop going to yoga and stuff. It's okay. It's okay.
So many girls. All right. Well, anyway, we do have Z-Man. We do have the Zerg Hive of Z-Man trying to force another engagement on to the Protoss hierarchy and basically absolutely getting smashed by those High Templar. That was a lot of damage going down in those psionic storms. And we are going to see him manage to take out a couple of Archons, which are pretty big unit pickoffs. However, it's not really going to work out because in the end, he's still going to get pushed back 100%. The only thing he really has over the Protoss hierarchy right now is complete and utter map control. There is no way we are going to see Dancroft start moving across the map because there's just no way. And we are starting to see Z-Man kind of start going for those Ender units. We have Ultralisks currently on the way. He's not going for Broodlords right now, which I think is a reasonably good decision due to the amount of Stalkers that there are in the enemy force right now. Yeah. And the fact that they have Blink. And the fact that I just like Ultralisks, let's be honest.
This really goes to show just how volatile they are at this stage, right? Once you get the Hive, it doesn't even matter if you go for those Broodlords. You have the Hive out, you can start doing things like, okay, well, he knows he's got the Spire, right? Mm-hmm. So the Zerg is sort of metaing in a way. It's basically, oh my gosh, continually putting pressure on with these Roaches. And that's what I was talking about.
Going to get sniped right here, and that is going to be a big, big death blow for Dancroft. Because he does not have any amount of economy. We can base that off of the fact that Z-Man doesn't have a natural and the Dancroft doesn't have a fourth base. So basically, he's down. He's running on fumes right now. This Protoss War Engine is really going to have to start slowing down because it just does not have the materials to sacrifice to warp units in from Ire. And I'm just going to say that that's how they do it because, why not?
From Shakuras, you mean?
Shit, you're right.
Oh, and it's actually a conclave, not a hierarchy. I was going to correct you earlier, but I wanted you to say it a few more times.
Well, thank you. I asked you. I was like, what is a Protoss thing called? Is it a hierarchy? And you were like, yep. Throwing me under the bus, Panera. Come on,
yes, man. I do that to everybody. Don't you worry. So here's what
we're the most useful troll.
I am indeed. It's very endearing. So what we're seeing here is the Zerg, like I've pointed out in previous episodes of Anatomy of Starcraft and whatnot. What we're seeing here is now they've got the Hive up. And instead of, oddly enough, the Zerg noticed that there was a Oh my gosh, the null incoming.
I just wanted to point out that there are probes at the line, and that was a lot of experience for those Ultralisks. That was hilarious.
Yeah, that was crazy. So anyway, what I was pointing out was that the Hive was teching up towards those Hive units, but noticed a weakness. And as with the Zerg, they're dangerous at all times, right? But they do go through these turtley phases, they go through some droning phases, but just goes to show you just how volatile they can be, right? They smell a little bit of blood in the water, and they're going to go right for the throat. Like, they're not going to say, oh, well, they're a little bit behind, so I'm going to sit back and get Broodlords. They say, no, I'm just going to throw 1,000 roaches at you, and you're dead.
Okay, so I would just like to ask you a question, anatomically speaking. So an Ultralisk just blew up on the battlefield.
Yes.
And if you scroll in, you can see bits of it flying everywhere. What are the three things that are really high in the air? Are those lungs?
Really high in the air.
Yeah. Like the three highest things in the air.
I don't really see. I mean, I don't have my graphics set to ultra or anything. Ironically, I don't have it set to ultra.
Oh, that is ironic. So anyway, I'm just gonna skip over that because I think they're lungs. They look like lungs.
Really high, like they're supposed to be floating in the air. Or are they just above the abdomen of the ultra?
No, they're flying off in the air. I have death. If you have death things set to ultra, stuff falls apart. It's great. I love the Heart of the Swarm death animations because they're random and they bodies like skid across the floor if they get shot from behind. It's great. But
that's awesome.
Yeah, that's just me. Okay, so before we ramble too long after a game, because people bitch at me all the time about that, why don't we just wrap this up with you telling them where to find your channel, and then I'll tell them where to find my channel, and then it'll be all good.
Okay, well, my channel is Ponera86, so Ponera 86, and we actually do stream. We're streaming Thursdays or Fridays with In Control on his. Go check out his stream if you haven't. He's a lot of fun to watch. It's just twitch.tv/InControlTV. Yep. Really cool place to go and hang out and get to know the community and stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you guys want to check out any other videos I've done that are slightly more normal than this biological cast, no matter how fun these are, you can head on over to youtube.com/user/boisteroussc2. And this will be uploaded under Ponera86, so if you want to check out his channel, you can just click the button below. And don't forget to subscribe to both of us, because we're both awesome, and you should definitely do it.
And most of the time we do a little bit more science. I was kind of shitting the bed talking about Big Bangs and just whatever the hell I wanted to.
No, that was fine. I think that's people are going to find this. It's a documentary. We're going for entertainment.
Oh, that's true. I'm the Richard Attenborough of Starcraft.
Exactly, you got it.
Or David Attenborough, whatever
his name is. All right. So anyway, guys, this is Boisterous
and Ponera, and we're done now.
Yeah, we're signing out. I was gonna finish off the outro, but whatever. Goodbye, everybody.